Hi there. As a child, I had a lot of foods that I didn't care for. I wouldn't say that I was a fussy eater because there were a lot of things that I would eat, but there were certain things that I just did not care for. I didn't care for fish that tasted strongly like salmon and mackerel and herring and stuff like that. Sorry about the noise, I'm outside. I didn't like green peppers. I didn't like celery. I didn't like raw carrots. I liked smooth peanut butter, but I didn't like peanuts. Um, in fact, I didn't like any kind of nut. Now, of course, peanuts are actually legumes, not nuts, but you know. Um, and if there was something in my food that I didn't like, I would just sit there and pick it out. Even if my mom like chopped up the green peppers into small pieces, I would just sit there and I would pick until I had a little pile of all of them out, because I just didn't want to eat them. Did not. After I became an adult, I started to learn about the mind. I developed my own hypnosis technique. I learned about reading tarot cards. I learned about massaging. I learned about psychology. And I had this experience when in the late 90s, my dad had to go to the hospital for heart surgery, open heart surgery. And I stayed at a friend's house he lived near the hospital where my dad was going to have his surgery. So I stayed there, and they happened to have some different kinds of nuts. And I said, I don't like nuts, but I want to learn to like them. So I sat there and I tried all the different kinds of nuts they had, and they had several different kinds. And I think the one that I liked the least, probably still don't like it to be quite honest, was the Brazil nut, if I remember correctly. But they had several different kinds. I don't know if I tried pistachios at that time. I certainly haven't tried every single kind of nut that exists on the earth, but I tried many kinds. And I just kind of accepted it, and now I can eat nuts, and in fact I love pistachios. They're like my favorite nut. Walnuts, I know they're good for me, so I eat them. They're kind of blah, to be honest, although the black walnuts tend to have a bit of bitterness to them, but they're just kind of a blah nut. I love eating cashews, although I know I shouldn't eat a lot of those. Compared to pistachios, they're not very good for you. Anyways, a few years after that happened, I moved to Denver, and I was at my girlfriend's, and she served a meal with green peppers in it quite often, or bell peppers. And I wasn't very happy about that, the reason she was doing it was because her roommate liked bell peppers, which was, like a signal to me saying, hey, you know what, I like having you as my boyfriend, but I don't like you that much. My roommate's more important than you are. But I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to be offended that my girlfriend is catering to her roommate's desires instead of what I want to eat. So I was like, you know what? This is the moment. I'm going to eat bell peppers, and I'm going to be happy about it. And I did. I ate them, and I still eat them. In fact, I like eating them. And at another point, I did the same thing with celery. I did the same thing with salmon. I did the same thing with pretty much everything on my list except for the really strongly fishy fish. I still have a problem with that one, but maybe it's because it smells rotten to me. But I can't really think of anything other than fishy fish that I definitely do not like to eat. So what I wanted to share with you is what I do. Hold on a second, there's a fire truck nearby. So Sorry about that. I thought that the fire truck, as it was pulling out of the station, might turn on its sirens, and I didn't want to have that in the recording. So what I do to learn to tolerate and eventually enjoy, usually, foods that I grew up hating is really, it's a mind trick. What I've noticed is that when we have to eat or do something that we don't like or that scares us, long before we have started, we're already reacting up in here. We are building up an emotional reaction prior to doing it. So we're anticipating in a negative way, in a destructive way, in a way that defeats us. So the first thing that you have to learn to do is to stop anticipating the thing that you're going to do or the thing you're going to eat. I'm focusing on eating here, but this can apply to pretty much anything. You just don't think about it. And I know that sometimes that can be really hard, but you can use mindfulness to help keep your mind off it. And once you get to the task, you keep your mind focused on something else. And you make a commitment to yourself, I'm not going to react the way I react. I'm not going to gag. I'm not going to hurl, which is to say vomit. I'm not going to have any kind of a negative reaction. I'm just going to taste it. I'm going to see what I can find about it that I actually appreciate. And I'm going to just do my best to change the way my brain reacts to this in order to be able to do it. And I've done the same thing with my phobias. I used to have some phobias. I had 4, and I don't have them anymore. And that is most of the battle. So I'd have something, and it's not suppressing, okay? I'm not suppressing my reaction. I'm changing my reaction. So I would keep an open mind to it. So instead of looking at it and saying, ew, I don't like this, I would look at it as like, oh, okay, I don't know what this is. I'm trying it for the first time, really, and even though I've tried it before, right? I'm trying it for the first time. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but I'm going to try to find in this food what I like about it. And hopefully there is something redeemable. You know, maybe there's some sweetness to it. There may be a nice flavor that's buried in amongst the rest of the flavor. There may be something about the texture that I like. It could be a combination of things. It could also be because I know it's good for my health, like walnuts. So that's what I do. I go into it with a clean slate, and I build from there. I build a positive impression on it so that the negative impression, which is literally nerves in your brain, is wiped out. And I do that again and again and again and again. And eventually I get to the point where I'm like, it's not so bad. And eventually I get to the point where, I like eating this. So now I eat raw celery. I eat raw carrots. I eat bell peppers, raw or cooked. And all that other stuff that I didn't like, I eat. So it's just that initial process, though, is the most important. Then you have to repeat and repeat and repeat until you get comfortable with it, and then eventually you may even start liking it like me. I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.